Wednesday, God of the losers. Now when Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on the mountainside and sat down. His disciples came to him, and he began to teach them. He said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven, for in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you." Matthew 5, 1-12. I vividly remember my first school sports day as a parent. It was a beautiful sunny day and everything was set for a lovely afternoon. Unfortunately, no one had mentioned to me there is an unspoken code of conduct for sports days. It came to my daughter's race and she shot out in front, leading girls almost twice her height. I was so proud, but then as the finishing line approached, she started to slow down and didn't see one of her classmates catching up fast. I panicked and started screaming, "Come on, what are you playing at? Faster, faster!" I continued shouting louder and louder, becoming more and more animated. My daughter sped up and did indeed cross the finishing line in first place. I screamed a big, "That's my girl!" and fist pumped the air. I turned around to see all the other parents staring at me in disbelief. Finally, one could not hold back any longer. "Calm down, mate," he said. "It's not the bleeding Olympics." From an early age, our society tells us that our very worth is in our actions. What we do and how well we do it define who we are. After all, when we meet someone, the first thing we inquire about, after their name, is what they do. And most of us are impressed, if even only quietly, if the answer involves success and achievement. It is really hard to rewire our minds to stop considering winning and succeeding as the ultimate aim, as I discovered at that school sports day. Anthony de Mello, the Jesuit contemplative, tells a story about a woman who was in an accident and found herself in heaven facing a great light. Suddenly she heard a booming voice ask, "Who are you?" She gave her name. The voice answered, "I did not ask your name. I asked who you are." She said, "I'm a school teacher." The voice answered, "I didn't ask for your profession. I asked who you are." She said, "I'm the wife of the mayor." The voice answered, "I didn't ask whose wife you are. I asked who you are." She said, "I'm the mother of 4 children." The voice answered, "I didn't ask whose mother you are. I asked who you are." By this point, the woman was finding herself rather confused, but the voice asked again, "Who are you?" She said, "I'm a Christian." The voice answered, "I didn't ask for your religion. I asked who you are." She said, "I'm the one who prays regularly, who goes to church and reads the Bible." The voice answered, "I didn't ask for your religious practices. I asked who you are." She said, "I'm the one who gives to charity, who helps the poor and needy." The voice answered, "I didn't ask about your charitable giving. I asked who you are." It was then the medics revived her. The story ends with her leaving the hospital bed, determined to spend the rest of her life finding out who she really was. It is interesting to think about how we ourselves might answer that question, "Who are you?" It's an important question because how we see ourselves also defines how we view others and indeed how we treat others. If we define ourselves by our successes, achievements or appearances, we'll also look at others and judge them by the same values. In our minds, their worth will be based on superficial outward factors, what work they do, how they look, or how successful they are. As Christians, we are challenged to look beyond this. Today's passage shows how the love-filled value system of the kingdom of God subverts the value system of the kingdoms of money, prestige, and power. After all, Jesus does not affirm those who are successful or wealthy, but instead champions the poor in spirit, the persecuted, the powerless, the peacemakers, the pure of heart, those who mourn, the meek, the merciful, and those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. In other words, our God is not the God of winners. God is, in the eyes of the world, the God of losers. This goes so radically against our upbringing and instinct that it sounds plain wrong to our ears. God is the God of losers. The last will be the first will be the last, as Jesus puts it in Matthew 20:16. This is at the crux of our faith. Crux, of course, is the Latin word for cross, and the cross certainly reflects this. Jesus lived in poverty, was persecuted and hated, was subject to violence and torture, wielded no power or worldly authority, and cared little for the successes that the world values so much. Instead, he lived to serve others through his ultimate sacrificial love. As he put it, greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. John 15:13. The cross was a sign that, in worldly terms, Jesus was a loser. But of course, the cross was not the end of the story. The loser became the winner, the rejected became the worshipped, and the crucified became the resurrected. Reflection. Like the woman in Anthony de Mello's story, consider the question, who are you? Either on paper or in your head. List the answers you might give. Our identity is an important part of our lives, but our call is to look beyond superficial labels. As Christians, our identity must be rooted first and foremost in God's love for us and for others. Commit yourself to seeing both yourself and others through the loving eyes of Christ.